Welcome to today's story, everyone. Buckle up, because this is going to be a wild ride. Imagine this, a hot, passionate night, James's husky voice growling a confession that shatters my world. What dirty little secret is he hiding beneath all that passion? Keep watching, because this bomb is about to drop, and trust me, it will leave you stunned. We're diving into a story of love, desire, and lies so twisted you won't believe how it ends. Hit play and stay tuned. Things are about to get intense, and I promise you won't want to miss a second. Alright, now let's jump right into today's story. From the very first day I married James, our relationship had been nothing short of intense. I was born into a family where my mother taught me that staying a virgin until marriage was very important. From a young age, she always reminded me of this, telling me how it would protect me and make me proud of myself in the future. I listened to her because I loved and respected her so much, and I knew she wanted the best for me, but as I grew older, things started to change. I saw my friends at school and in the neighborhood doing things that looked like fun. They would talk about going to parties, meeting boys, and some of them even had boyfriends. They seemed so happy and carefree, always inviting me to join them. "Come on, let's go have some fun," they would say, laughing as they headed out together. At times, I felt curious and tempted to join them. I wondered what it would be like to have that kind of fun, to be part of their world. The desire to explore was growing inside me, but something always held me back. It wasn't just my mother's voice in my head. Deep down, I knew I wasn't ready. The willingness just wasn't there, even though I felt like I was missing out sometimes. I made a promise to myself. I told myself that one day, when I got married, I would finally fulfill those desires, but on my terms. I would enjoy everything I had been waiting for and experience it in the way I wanted, with someone who loved and respected me. It wasn't easy though. There were moments when I felt torn, when the pressure to fit in was strong, but I always reminded myself of the promise I had made, and that helped me stay true to what I believed in. Before I married my husband, he often tried to convince me to sleep with him. He would tell me how much he loved me and how close he wanted us to be. At times, he made it sound so sweet, like it was the most natural thing for two people in love to do, but no matter what he said, I always stuck to my decision. I would look him in the eyes and tell him, "No, not until we are married." The closest we ever got was when he kissed me. His kisses were soft, and I could feel his love in them, but I always made sure it didn't go any further. He kept trying though, sometimes asking me again and again, hoping I would change my mind. He thought if he kept asking, I might eventually give in, but I stayed strong because I knew what I wanted for myself. I explained to him many times that waiting until marriage was very important to me. It was something my mother had taught me, and I believed it with all my heart. I wanted to be sure that the first time we shared that special moment, it would be meaningful and filled with love. It wasn't that I didn't care about him. In fact, I loved him deeply. I just wanted to wait for the right moment, the moment when we would be married and could share that part of our lives in a way that felt right. Whenever he brought it up, I would sit down with him and say, "I really want us to wait, only after we're married." I could see he was disappointed sometimes, but I tried to explain my feelings as clearly as I could. I told him that waiting made me feel special and would make our future together even more exciting. I also reminded him that love was about trust and respect. I wanted us to be a team, and I believed that waiting would strengthen our bond. Each time he asked, I could feel the love between us, even if it was mixed with a bit of frustration. I would smile at him, reassuring him that our time would come, and when it did, it would be wonderful. I shared stories with him about how special it was for couples to save their love for marriage. I told him that when we finally got to that moment, it would be like a beautiful gift we could give each other. We would look back on our decision with pride, knowing we had waited for something truly special. Slowly, I could see him understanding. He began to appreciate my feelings and what waiting meant to me. It wasn't always easy, but each conversation brought us closer, and I felt grateful that we could talk openly about our hopes and dreams for the future. It wasn't always easy, especially when his words sounded so convincing, but I knew in my heart that I wanted to wait, and even though he kept trying, I held on to my promise to myself. After we got married, our very first night together was the moment I had been waiting for. I had been dreaming about this night for so long, imagining what it would feel like to finally share that special moment with my husband. My friends, who had been with other men before, used to tell me that I was missing out on all the fun. They would laugh and say, "You don't know what you're missing, it's amazing." Their words always made me curious, and deep down, I wanted to try it for myself. I kept wondering what it would feel like, what they had been talking about all this time, but I waited, holding on to my decision to experience it for the first time after I got married. Now, here we were, married and finally ready to experience it together. My husband had been waiting just as long as I had. He had never done it with me before, and I knew he was as eager as I was to finally share this moment. We both felt excited and a little nervous as we entered our bedroom that night. As we looked at each other, I could feel the anticipation building. This was the night we would finally have the kind of fun we had been waiting for. It wasn't just about the excitement, it was about us being together in a way we had never been before. We were ready to experience something new and special, something we had both saved for this moment. Lying on our bed, we knew that this was the beginning of a new chapter in our lives, and we were both eager to make it the most memorable night of our lives. Deep down, I felt a little shy as we were about to take this step, and I could tell my husband was feeling the same way. It was new for both of us, and even though we had waited for this moment, there was a nervous excitement in the air. We smiled at each other, not saying much, but the look in his eyes told me he was just as eager as I was. Before I knew it, my husband leaned in and kissed me gently. His hands were soft as he began to undress me, moving slowly and carefully. Every touch sent a shiver through my body, and I felt emotions I had never experienced before. There was something stirring inside me, something that made me long for more. As he undressed me piece by piece, I was lost in the moment, but then I glanced down and saw something that surprised me, his tool, as people would call it. It was my first time seeing one up close, and I couldn't help but be shocked at its size. The only time I had ever seen anything like that was when my little brother was younger, and that was nothing like this. I didn't expect it to look this way, and for a second I was speechless, but the surprise quickly turned into excitement and joy. My body was filled with a sense of happiness I couldn't describe, and I lay down, ready for what was to come. My husband moved closer to me, gently guiding me. The highness we felt at first faded away as we shared something we had never experienced before. Slowly we came together, and for the first time, we experienced the fun and closeness we had waited so long for. It was like nothing I had ever imagined, and we both felt a connection that was deeper than anything we had known before. It was a moment of pure joy, something I knew I would never forget. I could feel a change within myself. It was like a door had opened, and I suddenly became more aware of my feelings and desires. Every day felt exciting, and I was eager to explore this new part of our relationship with my husband. We made it a point to have fun together daily, and I looked forward to those moments. Each day was filled with laughter, joy, and a special kind of closeness that made our bond stronger. We created little traditions, like cooking together or watching our favorite shows, and then we would end the day with our own special time. It felt wonderful, and I loved every second of it. However, after a while, I noticed something different. My husband seemed a bit more tired, and I could sense that he wasn't able to keep up with our daily adventures as he had before. One evening, as we sat together, I could tell he had something on his mind. He took a deep breath and looked at me seriously. "Emma," he began, "I really enjoy our time together, but I need to talk to you about something." His voice was soft but steady, and I felt a little nervous. I wondered what he was going to say. He continued, "I love how we share these moments, but I think we might need to find a better balance. It's not that I don't want to spend time with you, I just feel like I'm getting a bit worn out." I listened carefully, trying to understand his feelings. I realized that while I was filled with excitement, he might need some time to rest and recharge. It was important for us to communicate openly and find a way that worked for both of us. For a few moments, I couldn't speak. I felt like the ground had been pulled out from under me.
My heart achet with confusion and pain.
I had always believed that our intense passion was a good thing, that it was the glue holding us together, but here was James telling me that it was too much for him. How could I not have noticed? "Are you saying you don't love me the way I love you?" I asked, my voice trembling. James shook his head. "No, Emma, I love you deeply, but I can't keep up with the intensity anymore. It's exhausting for me, and I need us to slow down." His words left me speechless. I had always seen our passion as the core of our relationship. If James wanted to slow down, did that mean something was wrong with us? That night, I lay in bed wide awake, staring at the ceiling, replaying James's words over and over in my mind. I had never imagined he could feel overwhelmed by our connection. I thought our closeness was what made us special. As I watched him sleep beside me, I felt a pang of guilt. Maybe I had been so focused on what I wanted that I hadn't noticed James was struggling, but how could I change without losing what made our marriage feel so alive? I didn't want to give up the passion, but I also didn't want to lose James. The next day, I met with my best friend, Sarah, over tea. Sarah and I had been friends for years, and she was always someone I could turn to for advice. I poured my heart out, telling her everything James had said. I just don't know what to do, Sarah. He says the passion is too much, but I thought it was what made us strong, I said, my voice filled with frustration and confusion. Sarah nodded thoughtfully, taking a sip of her tea before responding. Emma, sometimes in marriage, it's not just about the intensity, it's about balance. Maybe James needs things to slow down a bit, and that doesn't mean he loves you any less. You need to find a middle ground. Her words made sense, but they also scared me. What if slowing down meant losing the spark we had? What if it changed us completely? That night, I brought up Sarah's advice to James. I've been thinking, I began cautiously, maybe we can find a balance, a way to still have that connection but not make it overwhelming for you. James's face softened with relief. That's all I've been asking for, Emma. I love you, and I don't want to lose what we have, but I need us to slow down to find a new way to connect. It was a difficult conversation, but it gave me hope. Maybe we didn't have to lose the passion entirely, maybe we just needed to rethink what it meant for us. In the weeks that followed, I made an effort to listen to James and understand what he needed. Instead of focusing solely on the physical side of our relationship, I tried to connect with him in other ways. We spent more time talking, walking, and laughing together, things we hadn't done much of recently. It felt strange at first, like something was missing, but slowly, I began to appreciate these quieter moments with James. They weren't filled with the same intensity, but they were just as meaningful. I could see the difference in him too. He seemed more relaxed, more at ease with us. As we spent more time together in this new way, I realized that our love had never been just about passion. It was also about understanding, patience, and support. James had always been there for me, and now it was my turn to be there for him. Our connection deepened in ways I hadn't expected. We still had our passionate moments, but they were balanced now with the calmness and peace we both needed. It wasn't about the intensity anymore. It was about truly being together in every sense of the word. One evening, as we sat together on the couch, James took my hand and smiled. This is what I've been needing, Emma, just being with you without all the pressure. His words filled me with warmth. For the first time in a long while, I realized that intimacy didn't have to be intense to be meaningful. In those quiet moments, we were closer than ever before. I leaned my head on his shoulder, feeling content. We had found a new kind of intimacy, one that was less about the physical and more about the emotional, and in doing so, we had rediscovered a love that felt even stronger than before. So there you have it. From what seemed like a perfect first night, I fell into an unexpected nightmare, but in the end, it led us to true love. What do you think about this story? If you think it's worth continuing, don't forget to hit like, subscribe, and turn on the notification bell. There's plenty more intense drama coming your way, and I need your support to keep going. Drop a comment. What would you do if you were in my situation? I'll be reading and replying to them all.